Hi smart people, my name is Karol and this is Ads Courses, a channel where I give you the best digital marketing secrets and web analytics tricks. Today we are going to dive deep into the Google Firebase analytics so that you will be able to pull out the right data of your mobile app and make the right business decisions. I'll guide you through the most useful tools and share with you the pros and cons of using Google Analytics for Firebase. If you find my videos helpful and interesting, consider to smash the subscribe button now. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so let's start with the differences between Google Analytics for Firebase and Google Analytics. And the first difference is that they are actually totally different tools. And Google Analytics is an analytics-specific tool designed for analyzing data, mostly from web pages. And Firebase Analytics is just a part of Firebase, which is a mobile development platform. But it doesn't mean that Firebase Analytics is not as good as Google Analytics when it comes to analyzing data. Actually, in most ways, it's better when it comes to analyzing data from mobile apps. Important information here is that Google Analytics for mobile apps is still supported, but it's being deprecated. And by that I mean they don't create other new features when it comes to Google Analytics for mobile apps. They are not improving the tool in general. But Firebase, on the other hand, is considered to be the mobile analytics tool of the future. So they are currently improving the tool and adding new features every now and then in Google Firebase. But the biggest advantage of using Firebase as analytics platform is because it integrates other Firebase tools and allows you to analyze them. And by that I mean in Firebase development platform, you have tools like cloud messaging, remote config, in-app messages, A/B testing, predictions. You have this package of tools that are designed for mobile apps. And with Firebase Analytics, you can easily analyze the data from these additional features. And you can't do that with Google Analytics. So you should take this into account before switching to Firebase. Will you actually use these tools? And if I would guess, yes, you should use them right now. If not, you should use them in future. But Google Analytics has its advantages, of course. The first one is that you may be actually more familiar with the metrics, dimensions, and the reporting in general from Google Analytics, because probably you have more experience with the tool while using it for websites. So the whole interface may be more familiar for you. Okay, so other primary differences between these tools are that they use different tracking and they have totally different limits. And by different tracking, I mean that in Firebase, all reports are user or event focused. So there are no sessions in Firebase Analytics. And that's like the biggest difference between these tools. And at the beginning, it may be difficult for you to switch from session-based data in Google Analytics to event-based or user-based data in Firebase, because Google Analytics has many screen view and session-oriented reports. But on the other hand, users interact differently with your app than with your website, and Firebase is way more suited for mobile applications than Google Analytics, because Google Analytics was created to measure, in most cases, websites. When it comes to limits, Firebase has no limit to volume of events you can log. There are, on the other hand, limits to the varieties of event names, and you can have up to 500 in total. Another difference in tracking between these tools is that they use totally different schemas for event tracking. In Google Analytics, you have hits and screen views, right? And events in Google Analytics are made of event category, event action, event label, and event value. In Firebase, on the other hand, the schema is totally different. Everything in Firebase is an event, and even screen views are events. And event schemas in Firebase are event name plus up to 25 additional key value pairs of parameters. Okay, so this is a schema of an event in Firebase. It's just an event name plus additional parameters of the event. And the important thing to know is that you need to actually register your events first in the interface of Firebase before they show up in the reportings. Another thing to keep in mind in Firebase Analytics limitations is that you can only register up to 50 custom event parameters per project. And by that I mean 40 numeric event parameters and 10 texts. So this is a very important limitation. Okay, another differences are that they use different reporting and different data models. And in Google Analytics you have custom dimensions, and you can create up to 20 in the free version of GA and up to 200 in paid version of Google Analytics. In Firebase, you can use either event parameters or create user properties, and you can create up to 25 per project. And user properties in Firebase are very similar to user scoped custom dimensions in Google Analytics, and you should totally use user properties. Another thing to keep in mind is that you have no ability to create custom reports or dashboards in the Firebase interface. So this is like the huge and the first disadvantage that you will see after switching to Firebase. But this is actually not as big of a drawback as you may think, because if you're going to Firebase Analytics and in mobile app analytics in general, you would want to use BigQuery at some point because of the possibility it will give you the flexibility of analyzing the data with BigQuery are huge. So you can create dashboards using BigQuery and Google Data Studio. Believe me, they will be more sophisticated, more advanced than your Google Analytics custom reports. There are other limitations when it comes to reporting in Firebase, and you have a limit of 15 custom conversion events in Firebase per project, because conversions in Firebase are simply your events that you simply mark as conversions. So you can mark up to 15 custom conversions compared to 20 goals per view in legacy Google Analytics for apps. So you should keep this difference in mind. For some publishers, there are some other disadvantages of Firebase Analytics that may be drawbacks for them, and by that I mean a lack of more granular reporting around sessions where the certain activities occur. So this also possesses challenges for audience segmentation and retargeting based on session-specific behavior, as it is common with Google Analytics, for example. At some point, Firebase Analytics had a disadvantage that you need to have your iOS and Android app as a different project in Firebase. Right now, you can easily have your iOS application and Android application within the same project. Another thing to keep in mind is that before you switch to Firebase Analytics, you should talk to your developers, because you would need to actually verify if your platform is supported for Firebase. In most cases, yes it is, but you should be actually 100% sure before you switch. Okay, so enough of the theory. If you're still not sure if you should switch to Firebase Analytics from Google Analytics, I would say yes, because even if Firebase Analytics has its drawbacks right now, they are constantly working on adding new features and fixing some bugs in the tool, and they are not doing this with Google Analytics for apps. So I think that even if you don't do it right now, you will have to do it like in a year or two, and it will be actually more difficult for you to do in future than right now. And of course, you can use both of them at the same time and actually test it. Before you actually switch to Firebase Analytics, I would advise you to write a plan, to write everything down that you want to track or that you are tracking right now with Google Analytics, and verify how you will be able to move this data to Firebase Analytics and its events and its user properties. So how will you be able to mirror this to different data, and how you want to measure it with Firebase Analytics. So you should actually write a very advanced and in-depth plan before you switch. And believe me, this may sound like very logical, but a lot of people don't do it like this. Okay, so now I'll simply very fast run through the Firebase Analytics options that we have here and talk a little bit about them. So this is a demo Firebase project that you can actually access even if you don't have your own application. And this is the analytics part in here. But this is not just about these tools in here, because Firebase Analytics will give you the option to analyze other tools that Firebase platform offers. So for example, you will be able to analyze A/B testing, cloud messaging, in-app messaging, remote config, predictions. You can actually analyze these tools with built-in analytics functionalities with Firebase. Okay, so after you log in to your Firebase account, you will see this option analytics and dashboard. This is like the main analytical dashboard within the tool. And you have the boxes in here that visualize different data sets of your application. And in most of them, you can actually go deeper. So for example, here you have the revenue box, which will show you the revenue data in time. And you can view the revenue, for example, view in-app purchase event details. So if you go in here, you will see a more in-depth report of in-app purchase event, because like I said, in Firebase Analytics, it's all about events. even screen views are events, right? And you can analyze this data here. You can change the dates, of course, and you can add filters. And filters in Firebase Analytics are platform. So if you have Android and iOS platform within the same project, you will be able to filter this. You have your stream. You have the ability to filter by audience name. Audiences, you create them here in the audiences section. You have your user properties. You add them in here, so you can filter by them, right? You have this user property. You have this parameters, right? And you have signed in status in here. So you can use this filter to see the data that you actually want. Okay, you can change the events in here, of course. Another option in here are the events. So let's go to the events section. And these are simply the built-in events and the events that you just created within your own app, okay? And there are also your parameters in here. And you can filter them out. You can go to a specific event and see the details and analyze this event. And you can mark your events as conversions. You can have up to 15 conversions, and your conversions appear in here in this section, conversions. And you can export these conversions to Google Ads, for example, as conversions. You have your audiences, so you can create different audiences of your mobile application. And you can use these audiences, for example, to send cloud messaging or in-app messaging or remote configuration, right? So you should definitely use these audiences. You've got your funnels to analyze the funnels to your certain conversion that you want. You can create your own funnels in here. You have user properties. So they are similar to the user scoped custom dimensions in Google Analytics. So your user property could be like the level achieved from your mobile app, or language that they are learning with your mobile app, or language that they speak, or country that they're from, or it could be a gender, age, anything actually that you want that defines your user. It could be like very engaged users or non-engaged users. And you have other features in here like latest release. You can analyze your latest release in here. You have retention option, and it will just show you a cohort reports. Very important when it comes to analyzing mobile apps. And you can actually add filters, of course, in here and change the data in the cohort report. So this will show you the engagement in your mobile app. You have your stream view. So this is something similar to live view in Google Analytics. Okay, and you can also filter the data. So this is a nice feature. You have the debug view, so you can debug your events and conversions when you actually create them. This is actually more difficult to debug than doing in Google Analytics, but you can still do them in here. So as you can see, Firebase Analytics has its cons, but also has a lot of disadvantages over Google Analytics. But in general, it's like the future of mobile app measurement. And I think that you will have to switch at some point to Firebase Analytics. You can use both the tools, Google Analytics and Firebase at the same time, and test them, of course. But Firebase Analytics is more designed to mobile app analysis than Google Analytics, which is like more web-based. As you can see, Firebase Analytics has its pros and also a lot of limitations at the moment compared to, for example, Google Analytics. If you have any questions or want to share your ideas, you can do this in the comment section below. If you don't want to miss any of my other videos, simply subscribe. Okay, that's all for today. Bye!